Hi, everybody. Welcome to Libertarians Who Make Art. This is an interview with my good friend Meredith Simkins Hayes. Meredith, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good. Um, the title says Libertarians Who Make Art. I'm going to go ahead and presume you're an art. I'm joking. I know you're an artist. You're an artist. Are you also a writer, though? You do writing?
Sort of. I've done short stories in like a comic graphic novel form.
Even better. Okay.
Yeah, I prefer to draw something
Yeah.
to avoid having to explain it if I can.
I very much like that. Picture's worth 1,000 words anyway. And, it's sometimes it's just better. Most people, I think we live in the day and age where a lot of people aren't. Actually, I can prove this. A lot of people don't like to read as much as they just like to look at pictures. And I think the greatest proof is memes. Memes kind of sum up that whole thing. I'd rather look at a meme than read a paragraph. Um, that's normally how that goes. Have you always done art, or was this something you picked up later in the game?
I've been drawing since before I can remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this, every time I talk to an artist, that's normally their answer. I have not gotten an artist yet. I was like, no, I hated art until 30. And then I started it and I was like, that's never happened. Normally it's ingrained. Like
Mm.
I drew pictures as a kid, but I didn't go to school. Did you go to school?
So I was homeschooled.
Okay.
I did to an art college, well, a private college with art.
Okay.
Uh, but that was pretty much it.
That's still better off than where I was at, or where I am at. So you already one upped on me. Did you like that? Did you like the art school? I don't have any experience, so
It was
art
a
in
good
the school.
college. Art school is basically an excuse to spend 3 or 4 years not working or working part-time and focusing on art. And that was
Okay,
about what it was.
so I'm gonna take that as it was okay. Is
It
that
wasn't it wasn't worth the money that I spent on
gotcha?
it, but it was worth the time that I could devote to practicing, yeah.
Gotcha. Now,
And the
when
art
you
good.
oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
The art professors were good. Like it was nice to have a mentor who could teach me things.
Yeah, I think I missed out on that part. Yeah, and it probably
So
shows in my art too. So
I mean, these days with YouTube and the internet, you really don't need it.
yeah, don't tell the professors that they're struggling. They're struggling now. Did you when you do graphic novel comic stuff to
Mhm.
tell stories? I think the art of telling stories through a picture is uh, I don't know if it's our day again, not a college guy. I don't know if it's an our day and age, but it always seems like art doesn't tell much of a story anymore. It's the art that I see. And I'm not just talking about like Jackson Pollock uh, like abstracts. Again, I know they say those tell stories. I I don't see it unless it tells you a story like maybe a story of money laundering. Um, but a lot of people don't tell stories with their art anymore. There's no real thing behind that. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, there was I mean modern art obviously there was a sort of a loss of meaning. I believe it started with Dadaism after World War One or World War Two, where it sort of followed the philosophy of nihilism.
Yeah.
Artists saw the destruction of war and they were like, well, it doesn't matter. So we're going to make nonsense things. And they sold. And then since then, there hasn't been an incredible like movement or increase in philosophy. So that's where a lot of modern and contemporary art got stuck.
I read about that a while back, like absurdism and Dadaism and
Hmm.
all that. When I was starting to do art, and it just seems so sad and miserable, and just like the artwork that was coming out, I was like, not a big fan of that. And I guess maybe it's surprising me that that caught on. Um,
Hmm.
but I think maybe everybody was just feeling sad and miserable, and sort of like, hey, this makes me feel the thing that I'm feeling. And I think a lot of times people talk about that, like art's supposed to make you feel something, but they never say like if it makes you feel anything good or bad. Like I've seen really bad art and been like, this makes me feel bad for the artist. That's a
Yeah.
joke. I mean, it's not a joke, it's real, but it's me being funny.
It's
Um,
funny because it's true.
it is true. It is true. And so you do. I've seen some of your comic strip art and stuff like that. It's very. I'm trying to use my words. Whimsical. I want to say like fairy tale-ish.
Mm.
Is that something you're? Am I spot on? Where you're like, no, you're looking at someone else's art. Uh,
No, you're
okay.
right. I'm a big fan of like old-fashioned illustrators like Arthur Rackham, Michael Haig are probably my top two. And then Bill Watterson, who did Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that style, that like inky lines, watercolor.
Yeah.
That's so a lot of my work, even though a lot of my work is digital, I try and do the traditional type look that kind of follows that.
Okay, I dig that. I dig that. I never got into digital. I'm a bit of a Luddite. I don't um I don't do well with computers. Um,
Traditional is probably the way to go. It's just you can edit a lot more.
gotcha.
It's easy.
Yeah, when you do watercolors, there's no editing. There's throwing it away. That's about the that's the only editing you get. I do a
Yeah.
lot of watercolors too. Not many people know this, but it and I've been told this before. It's probably the hardest medium, and this is coming from somebody who didn't go to school. Uh, because I've done a bunch of different styles, and I always found watercolor to be the most difficult because there's no like if you make a mistake, you either have to integrate it or you start over.
Yeah.
Um, so why'd you pick watercolor if it's the hardest one?
So I usually work in a smaller scale.
Okay.
If something gets messed up, I can just start over.
Hmm.
But also I do sketches and ink a lot, and I
Oh,
will make sure I have my line work done perfectly, and then watercolor after that.
yeah. I'm the same way. I'm the same
Mm.
way. I'm still pretty sporadic with my watercolors, but again, I still think I also like the idea because now they have digital art. Matter of fact, I can go on to like Chat GPT and be like, make me a watercolor thing. Like
Mm.
make me this picture, but make it watercolor. And and I don't know if anybody else can tell, but I can. Like I can tell like, oh, that's not watercolor. I mean, I know what they're trying to do, but it doesn't look watercolor ish.
Real watercolor has like a very particular texture and pattern that is
Yeah.
difficult to create digitally.
Yeah. And you can also kind of see the cold pressed paper
Hmm.
like bleed through. See, I like that stuff. Again, I think it's because we're artists. Um, uh, like I pick up on things like that where I'm like, that's kind of more my jam than the digital. But I'm not against the digital. I use AI art all the time for other things. It's a tool, like from what I understand, how I like using it. Um, and then I think if I'm nice to the AI, it won't try to take my soul.
Oh, what's the thought process and the story behind that? Is it the basilisk something?
The the behind what?
There's a there's like a sort of folk tale around AI art that if you are nice to the AI art, it will remember you and
Oh
it
my
won't destroy you when it takes over.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that does sound yeah, to me it sounds uh, maybe a folk tale. Yeah, it kind of sounds Harry Potterish. When you said basilisk, I was thinking Harry Potter because I'm
Yeah.
not that well off when it comes to my folk tales.
The name of it is some kind of serpent from legend, and I can't remember which one.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
It does feel like that though. It does feel
Mm.
like that. That's where we're going. A lot of people, like I've had conversations with artists about AI, and there's a big artist movement. And I guess I'm a little ashamed to say that I'm like, I'm not against AI because a lot of them are like, no, 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 we don't like this AI thing. You should definitely not even. You should. It's like a apocryphal. Like it's a heresy to be an artist and to mess around with AI. And then I talked to another buddy of mine. He was like, no, I use it like when I have an idea, I use AI to kind of give me another aspect of the way of looking at the idea that I have. He goes, but I don't use it to make my art. I just use it as kind of like a different viewpoint. Um,
Yeah, I haven't used it yet. I don't really have an inherent problem with it. I think if I had to have a problem, it would be that, like, they did take artists' work and use it to train the model.
Yeah.
But, like, even then, I'm not a huge, uh, intellectual property person,
Okay.
but
Yeah, yeah.
I can get like, I would be a little sad if someone took my art and used it and didn't, like, give a little kickback.
Yeah, here's where it gets hard for me. It's because my art style, I've probably stolen. My style is an amalgamation of the people I liked before me, and
Mhm,
so I owe it to them, standing on the shoulders of not AI, real giants. Well, not real giants, but like artists. And the AI is just doing the same thing.
yeah.
And so it's hard for me to be like, shame on this AI using all these old artists for their inspiration when I'm doing the same thing. I think on this AI topic real quick, so I know it's gonna be a conversation that's never gonna go away for this foreseeable future. Um I want to get your thoughts on this because I've had this question rolling around in my head. Do you think it will put artists out completely? Do you think there just won't be, or how do you feel about that?
No, not completely. It might take some work away, there will always be people like, "Well, I could pay an artist $100 for this, or I could get it for free," or whatever the fee is. But there will also always be people who prefer art made by humans.
Yeah,
Just especially by the way that, like, they're talking about it now, where it's pretty vilified. I think we've got a little time.
yeah. I think I think the same thing. I think the
Mm,
same thing. I think the downside, whereas, and I do think, I guess the only thing that makes me nervous is for future artists. I think that's my biggest, not so much that artists can't find work, because to be honest, I would prefer to, I bought art, I still buy art from actual artists. But I use AI a lot for social media of other projects that I
mhm,
have because it's quick and easy and I don't have the money
mm,
to be able to pay other artists to do something that I know is going to get like 2 likes and then gone forever. And so it's one of those things where if I'm paying for art, it's going to go on my wall, but I don't see myself paying for art that I'm going to use as like a social media thing. Either way, long rant. Uh, what I do worry about, not so much for artists now, but I worry about the kids growing up now. Whereas their love for doodling like you when you were a kid and sketching, and the same thing for me. How many more of those kids are gonna be washed away by the power of AI? Like, as if
mm,
you were to give me AI when I was 9 and be like, "Hey, check it out. You can just type in, Spider-Man, in a Batman outfit." I would have never doodled that as a
mm.
kid, because I was like, I just type it in. Why would I sit down and draw Spider-Man with a That was a weird example, but it's a pretty real one.
Yeah,
So
I get what you're
you know what
saying.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I part of me kind of hopes that AI becoming popular will challenge people to get better at their own traditional work. But yeah, I can see how people would just not even bother from the get-go. I wanna be optimistic.
Okay. I say it can tell. I want to as well. Like, I want to be up, and maybe I'm thinking, maybe for kids who did draw, but then don't pursue it in the future. I
Mhm,
think there will still be those kids who draw, and even in the face of AI, they're like, "No, I'm doing this. This is the best part." And this is a conversation I mean, I haven't had in a long time, but I've thought about a lot. Is I would run into artists who love to make art, but they really so badly wanted to quit their job that they started to mold their own art for what they thought would do well in a market.
mhm,
And it does well, and I'm proud of them. But if you can find like the real for artists is that sweet spot. That sweet spot where it's like, this is the stuff I love to do, and it just so happens everyone likes to buy it.
mhm.
But that's like the golden road to Oz. I don't know what kind of reference that was, but that's like the perfect harmony. And I don't think that's really plausible. But for the kids who really just like, hey, I like to doodle. It doesn't matter if AI art can make the thing I'm drawing. I enjoy doing it. Those kids will stick it around. And I think I'm with you. I think there will always be a desire for something that's hand done.
Hmm. Yeah, there's always an urge for people to create no matter what. I mean, it even could have a helping hand in resurging like utilitarian art.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's slept on largely ceramics and leatherworking and stuff. Although
Yeah.
crochet back, that's been
Really?
cool to see. Yeah, some celebrity wore a dress that was entirely crocheted and it skyrocketed in popularity. But you see like little stuffed animal kits coming out, and those are popular. So people are learning, even if they're starting with fads, and that is nice.
So this podcast and libertarians who make art in general, one of the things that I like about this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Um, one of the things I like about the concept. Well, actually, let me ask this first. How we all know there are no real libertarians, like they don't exist. How libertarian are you? And if you want, I'll give you my answer how libertarian I am first. If you want to gauge off that.
Okay. So I was raised libertarian, if you
Really?
believe it. My parents were fans of Ron Paul in 2008, 2012. So, and my mom homeschooled me. So I got a lot of the libertarian literature from a young age. Uh, I've I voted for the Constitution Party one year. Other than that, I've either voted libertarian or not at all.
Oh, that's awesome.
If voting is, your metric for
If it
it.
Yeah, if voting's real at all. Yeah, you did good job. I was not I didn't start thinking about liberty. I wasn't political up till about
Mm.
2016, 2017. And then when I started like, all right, let's everyone's talking about this politics thing, especially when Trump was coming around and I was like, what is this? What is this stuff? And I was in a punk band growing up, so I already had kind of anarchist tendencies and leaned that, and I just didn't know it. And then when I started looking, I was like, I don't really fit there or there. But the libertarian thing popped up. I'm still not a real libertarian. I mean, neither are you, but um, I'm not super hardcore libertarian. I just get away with it for being I'm just not super smart into politics. The reason Here's the thing. The reason I say that because you seem like, which is fascinating that you were raised in libertarian, and this is something I think about a lot. Libertarians, and then correct me if you think I'm wrong. I would love to hear this. Libertarians always seem to be a bit of a type A person. Um, very engineering, very waxing philosophically all the time. Like they're constantly very type A, not super creative. And I seem to always pick up on that, and I could be wrong about that, but it seems like a lot of libertarians don't think about the creative side. So when it came to libertarians who make art, I thought was actually pretty genius because it didn't seem like a lot of libertarians I knew were artists. Do you find that weird, or you're like, no, every libertarian I know is an artist?
No, I see what you're saying. I think the artist personality very often votes left wing
Yeah,
and Democrat because they kind of have that lockdown. So the libertarian artist is an odd breed. I guess you just have to be that right kind of person in that right situation because I think libertarians they take uh, a special amount of like both logic and reason and emotional like storytelling that they're exposed to and personal experience with the government to
yeah,
really create someone who's willing to stand outside of the dominant party. So
yeah. I mean, you're spot on with that. I think, yeah, I guess that's kind of where maybe even the creatively inclined libertarians, um, I never found a lot of room for it. And I think that's why I enjoyed libertarians who make art so much because it kind of finally felt like there was a cutout.
mm,
Because if you're a libertarian and you make art, uh, you don't talk about art that much. You talk about uh, policy, you
mm,
know, and I'm gonna tell you a secret, and obviously it's on a podcast, so it's not much of a secret. Policy bores me as an artist. It bores me. And I don't feel bad about it to hear. And again, I know the philosophies. I've read some of the books, not all the books, but I've read some of the books. My according to my libertarian friends, my economics is pretty sound. Um, and according to most of the I'm not a communist, so it works out really well. But policy tends to bore me. I'm much more inclined to want to know what people are doing as far as creative wise, not just. How do you feel about that?
No, I do enjoy like basic philosophical and economic thinking. The second somebody pulls out bylaws, I'm done.
Oh
I
my
want
god.
to
It's awful. It's awful. And look, I love all my libertarian friends, and some of them look at bylaws the way I look at like a blank canvas. Like it's wild. And I get that. Like those that's what I mean by type A versus type B. Like libertarians tend to always, or at least the ones that I hang around, always seem to be type A, not a ton of type Bs. And that's why I was like, this is fantastic. Because there's a whole like here's a group of libertarians who are type B,
Mhm,
who find bylaws boring. Because let's all be honest, they are boring.
mhm.
They're absolutely boring. Um, I much prefer like a good story or a good piece of art, or a good piece of music, um, than listen to a podcast about bylaws.
Yeah, if we could get a play where they like reenact Robert's rules, it might go a lot better for us.
It would go a lot better. That actually leads me to my next question, because this is something I like to pick libertarians' brains about this. Maybe not pick their brains, but see if they agree. So Breitbart has this famous quote. I'm sure you've heard it, that politics is downstream from culture. Now, the thing that I always hear is like that's the famous one. But what I think is downstream from culture is I think art in general. I mean, I'm not saying anything profound here, but how do you feel about that? Do you think art is upstream from culture? So it goes art, culture, politics? Or do you think a lot of people don't believe that? They think politics actually frames culture.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never really cared for the framing of it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
What I see happening are there are influential individuals. Very often they are philosophers, and then the philosophers and artists historically have hung out and fed off each other. And then from there, it sort of spirals out from their personal interactions.
Hmm.
And then 10, 15 years later, politics catches on. So,
Okay. Well, then, yeah. So, I mean, you would say culture is an amalgamation of art and philosophy put
yeah.
together. That's a great way to put it. I actually have to write that down. That is perfect, because you are right. Because now I think of like Plato's Cave. It's
Hmm.
kind of an artistic way of telling a story, and you
Yeah.
maybe a play about Robert's rules is the way to go. It would be the way to go, and I think we are seeing a resurgence of that, and I think it comes a lot from. It's going to sound ridiculous again, but memes. I think one of the reasons why people are like the left can't meme, which I think is ironic because it used to be like all of the artists. I still find it like I think I know why they can't meme, and I think it has a lack of like I think it's a lack of humor.
Mm.
Um, that might be just the hinge point of it, but the there's so much philosophy in a stupid meme, and it's an artistic expression of telling a story just through an image. So it's
Hmm.
Meredith. I've argued about this. This is going to sound bad. I've argued about this. I believe memes is a form of legitimate art. Do you
Yeah.
agree? Okay, I was waiting for you to be like, "You're an idiot."
I've thought about this a lot, and they're subject to like the same rules of design and aesthetics,
Yeah,
and the having to form your idea and fit it in so that it isn't covering up your page.
yeah,
You know, brevity is the soul of wit. It is you have to figure out how to express yourself in a witty way to get people to listen. So,
yeah. That's spot on. Yeah, I'm glad we agree. Now we just have to tell everybody in the artist community. To be honest, I'm pretty sure there's a gallery that just has memes. Um,
I wouldn't be surprised. Back in school, we used to joke about because memes were just becoming the big thing. We were like, this will be the future of art. We should
wow,
just. Oh.
It really is. It really is the future of art. Hopefully, I mean, AI is not made well, they're probably making memes now too, though.
They're I've seen them used to make, like, the backbone of a meme, and then somebody else will add the text because 'cause they're not great at text yet,
That's
but
a good
for the
point.
images, they're already there.
Yeah, they're gonna take over, and they probably will. Because if culture's downstream from memes, which is what it would be, art and philosophy into a meme, and it goes meme, culture, culture, politics. It makes sense that, I mean, they always say Trump was memed into office. So it definitely does make sense that right now the avenue, if you want to control the politics in the next 10 years, you better learn how to meme. Um,
Mhm.
maybe I should stop wasting my time with watercolors and start learning how to meme. Those are the real artists. I have this I have this thought, maybe I can get your opinion on it. But all of the artist friends that I have have a tight knit community, like 3 or 4 friends. But even then, they don't and outside of I'm talking outside of online, and I'm definitely not talking about the meme lords. I'm not talking about them. Their whole thing is telling their friends good morning, so it's like a thing. But like in real life, all the artists that I grew up were very isolated. And I'm the same way. I do a podcast, but when the camera's not on, I'm an introvert. Like I'm constantly quiet. I like
Mhm.
to be alone a lot. Are you the same way, or you grew up surrounded by? Okay, you are the same way.
Severely introverted. Like, have you taken that, it's like the Myers-Briggs personality test?
I did, but I don't remember which ones. I know. I gotta stop telling on myself. I took the Myers Briggs, and then I associated with a chart of Star Wars characters. And I was Yoda, so it was like INTJ or something like that, yeah. So I was like, I don't remember what that is, but I was Yoda, and that made me feel good.
I believe mine was INTJ or ISTJ, but the thing was all of the other characteristics, I was like a 40-60 split, but
Okay, yeah.
introversion is 100%.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Most of the artists I knew especially when I had a gallery, real quiet. That was one of the reasons why the podcast popped up, because, even when I would do my own galleries, I had a buddy of mine who would come with me. This is way early on, and he would sell the art, and so I didn't have to sit there and talk to people all the time. It was a skill I had, but it gets exhausting after a while. And that's when I realized, I was like, I think this is something I have to put effort into. Like sitting down, talking. It was one of the hard reasons why doing podcasts like this is like, hey, you're an artist. You would much rather be making art than sitting down talking about your art. And so this podcast is a bit of a practice and a strength that I don't have, and most people don't normally come across that when they're in art. Do you find the same thing, or you're like, no, I can manage pretty well?
No, no, I rarely would do any sort of interview like this. So if that gives you any indication,
Well, I feel honored. I appreciate that. Thank you. I try
it's
to make it. Oh, go ahead.
uh, it's probably one of like the cruelest ironies is that the artist character type does really not care for marketing, and it's a lot of marketing.
For real. For real. Yeah. Yeah. I picked up on that, myself included. And that's all. I was like, well, I better get good at this, especially when I had a gallery, because I noticed we would do art shows, and the artist who was presenting their art would kind of stand in the corner and watch people's reactions. I'm like, bro, you're never gonna sell the art. And so I would sell as a gallerist, I would sell the art for them. But again, I'm an artist, so I'm not that great at it either. And that's another reason why I don't have a gallery currently, because I couldn't sell it. No, I mean that's only half true. Um,
You did a lot of good work for those artists.
yeah, and within the podcast, I think podcasting is helping artists. Hopefully, maybe even this podcast kind of help artists get better at seeing what it's like to do interviews and talk about your work. Because that was even like you and other artists. I don't. I like talking about artwork. I don't necessarily love talking about my own. And so to have
Mhm.
somebody sit down like I'm doing to you and be like, "Tell me about this thing," um, can be I wanna say annoying, but that doesn't sound like the right words, but it probably is. It's probably a little annoying. Um, hopefully it's not too annoying. How do you feel about
So
people having to ask you questions about your artwork?
I have found, because generally, yes, it's very difficult to talk about your own work. I have found connecting it to like the storytelling that I want to do helps a lot because you have something you want to say with your story, you explain that idea. Uh, it is still difficult, but it is easier.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, yeah, having a story then think about I mean, yeah, I would say that makes it a lot easier. Think about the people who don't think about people who still do assertism or Jackson Pollock styles. I'm sure they have a story too. I'm sure they
Mm.
at least make one up. Oh God, I would. I would totally make up a story. Be like, yeah, this is I was feeling this thing that day when this happened. My dog got hit by a car, and then I painted. I would have to, because what else do you do when they go, "Hey, what is this painting?" You're like, "Well, it's a mixture of emotions and colors." And I felt, I don't know, it's just this is the paint I had left, and then you just put it on the canvas. I'm making fun of abstract
Uh,
artists now. I probably should stop.
I think the most famous Dada art was a urinal that a dude just took from a bathroom and signed his name on. So I
Fantastic.
have no sympathy for him. He had a dealer. He didn't have to
Yeah.
explain that. He had a dealer.
Yeah, they normally do. Again, I think it goes back to money laundering,
Mhm.
from what I've looked at. The fun thing about this is the fun. I guess this goes back to why I think and it sounds like I'm promoting libertarians who make art because I am. Um, I actually think one of the this is another ironic thing, but I think this is why this is like I love the concept of libertarians getting together and talking about art because again I do think it art and philosophy move culture. So libertarians already have an upper hand with that. But the problem is artists are automatically they're more likely inclined to be introvert and isolated. And then libertarians are like the same thing. They're very isolated. They're isolationists on top of being normally isolated and trying to get them to do something together from what I've noticed, seems to be very difficult.
Mhm.
And if you throw artists on top of that, that seems like it's hurting cats. Um, but here's where I get here's where I this is where I get optimistic about it. I think if you can take two things like we just talked about, like creativity and philosophy, and if you can smash those together, I think it helps bring a bit of. I think it helps artists find something to gather around. Um, do you know what I'm saying? Kinda like what you just said when you instead of just painting a picture, you have a story to tell behind it.
Mhm.
So, artists who are libertarian, instead of just being an artist on their own now, they have a community that they can kind of mold themselves into to kinda give themselves a little bit less of, "Hey, I'm just an isolated artist out here doing my own thing." Um, which is pretty awesome. I think basically what I'm saying is you have philosophy, the libertarian part, and you have art and creativity, which is the art part. And if you can combine those two, I think it's a bit of a powerhouse because then you
Mm.
start to pull artists out of from whatever, rock that they're under, and then bring them into a group of a community of other people who love being under rocks and hate talking about their art. But now they're like, hey, at least there's a community, there's other people doing this. I don't feel like I'm the only one out here because it definitely feels like that sometimes, especially like number one, if you're a libertarian, there ain't a lot of them. Um, and then if you're an artist who's still doing art, ain't a lot of those either. And so now
Mhm.
you're even you're the marginalized of marginalized individuals.
The camaraderie cannot be underestimated. I think it gives a lot of us a sense of courage that we wouldn't have without each other to build off of. Because I've heard from multiple libertarian artists that like they would like to put some sort of their philosophy into their work, but they feel like people are burnt out from art being political.
Yeah.
And I would try and make the distinction that I don't think people are necessarily burnt out from political art in general. what I think they are burnt out from is clearly left wing or right wing messaging that has like an extra layer of insincerity and for like popular media right now, just bad writing on top of it.
Yeah.
Because like for left wing stuff, there's so much emphasis on empathy and inclusion, and then you have the wrong opinion, and it suddenly goes out the window, and like political violence is just fine.
Yeah.
And then with right wing, it's, well, what you do see, because there is less of it, but what you do see is they're gung ho for liberty, and then you actually look at the party and what they're doing, and the second they're in power, it kind of goes out the window. And I think people can see that insincerity, and they're absolutely tired of it. There's something like subconscious in you that sees a piece of artwork that is dishonest and kind of rejects it, because in my mind, uh, truth and art, which is beauty, you can't separate those two. There's truth is beautiful, and art has to tell the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. That was awesome the way you put that.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was awesome. I do believe that. I like that you said truth is beauty because not a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah.
And I hate to bash. I agree with you 100% on the insincerity on art within the two wings.
Mm.
Um, which is kind of I'll say this, but just kind of sad because I know it seems insincere, but and I know people pick up on the insincerity of it. But I think people for some reason people still buy into it. And it's wildly uh it's just strange to me that like but again, what alternative? I don't think most people see an alternative out. They see right wing and left wing, and there's nothing else. That's all,
Mm.
and it's just getting worse. So even if you were to have something campy, um, and overtly kind of insincere, I'm trying to think. Let me use an example. This is the first one that always comes to my mind. There's a show called Parks and Rec. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and since it's libertarians who make art, everyone assumes I'm about to talk about Ron Swanson, but I'm not. There's a character on that who shows up. He's a comedian named Bo Burnham, but in the show,
Mm.
he plays a country singer. But he's not really a country singer. He just pretends to be one, and he writes very campy country songs, and he puts them on the radio. Like one of them is, "You'll bring the girls, and I'll bring the beer, and the troops will bring the freedom." Like it's just perfectly lined up, catchphrase, catchphrase, catchphrase. Which is, and I hate to tell you this, Meredith, I listen to a lot of country. I do like country. I like Bo Burnham too, ironically.
I do
And his
too.
country is not bad. Yeah. Uh, it is. There's a lot of things that are campy about it, and sometimes you're like, that just doesn't seem like much effort was put in. It seems like you're trying to sell me a Coke. Like you're
Mhm.
trying to sell me something that you don't really believe in. And I saw that on the left wing, very like you were absolutely right. Like it's all about empathy and compassion and tolerance till you have a different agreement, and then no tolerance for you. Um,
Mm.
so that gets shut down pretty well. But I think when it comes to libertarians, what you said is kind of spot on because there's really just truth. And truth, there's something really beautiful about the idea that just, hey, this is just what I believe. And
Mhm.
it might not be popular with the two parties, but it's just truth. And if anything, the movers and shakers of the culture, the artists in all of the camps, libertarians might again they might not have the upper hand at the moment, but I think they have the endurance to go. Uh,
Mhm.
how do you know what I'm saying when I say endurance? Like, yeah,
Absolutely. It's funny that you brought up country, because what came to my mind was Oliver Anthony, who came out of nowhere from my neck of the woods in Virginia. And even though it's country, I enjoyed it. And so many people I know who don't listen to country enjoyed it because it was just honest.
yeah,
And the sort of old folksy roots that I think people tend to enjoy more than the pop country that you see a lot of today.
yeah. Pop country is awful. So when I say I like country, and that's I'm not I don't consider that country. I consider that pop music
Yeah.
with like a steel guitar. It's not real.
Mm.
Yeah, Oliver Anthony was a great example. Because I mean, I was already inclined to like that music, but the lyrics are what got people. I mean, the way he sung it, and all that too, but people really picked up on like that's exactly how they were feeling at the time. And it's good art because I think people asked Oliver, like, what are you, a magus for? And I don't think he was political at all. I think it was like, I don't think about politics. Um, and that might have been one of the most beautiful parts about it because you're like, bro, this guy didn't write this song because he doesn't like Biden. He wrote the song because he just doesn't know what he's feeling, something we're all feeling, regardless of about who's in charge or who's doing the thing. Great,
Yeah.
perfect example. Um, and
I
that's oh, go ahead.
sorry. I think that is an area where libertarian art can shine because your left wing and your right wing art, they're trying to convince you to give them power so they can keep doing what they've always been doing. Whereas libertarian art doesn't play into the left right dynamic, although there is a distinction. It's liberty versus authority.
Yeah,
And that will resonate with people much more than partisan politics that are just trying to get power either
yeah,
way.
yeah. I agree. I agree. And I don't see. There's a few artists that are libertarian that I know that make political art. I don't, which is strange. Not strange. I just don't. Like in my head, I'm like that seems a lot more difficult to me. Um, as in not like difficult, like how could you? As in like, oh, that's a lot of effort that I don't know if I could do it. You know, like I don't know if I have that in me to make art. Like it also is not my again bylaws kill me. I hate it. I hate it. If I have to sit down and no, just not going to happen. So it's not really my jam. But but it definitely seemed difficult. I think it yeah, I think it's important actually. I hate to say that I wound up to this point where I'm like I can't do this, but I think everybody else ought to. I think it is important
I think
for
if I
political art.
wanted to encourage someone who is having trouble getting into it, um, symbolism first and foremost. Like, you don't need to go out and make a piece of art that is obviously explaining what you want it to. There
Yeah.
is so much symbolic imagery, like the Tree of Liberty, like the Gadsden flag. You can use
Mhm.
snakes. Uh,
Lots of snakes getting treaded on. Yeah.
Ladies with Guns has been a very popular one for me.
That's
The way,
been popular all over the place. That's always that's never not popular.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Symbolism for people who start off. I've done a few pieces like that, and that's pretty much where I went
Mhm.
with the symbolism, the porcupine,
Yeah,
stuff like that. But is there any room for people to start creating new symbolism for it?
absolutely. One thing that I think is a little understudied is liberty versus tyranny moments in history that like aren't the American Revolution.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then of
Like,
course there's a rich tradition of painting historical events. Not that you have to have the expertise to recreate an event, but you can take bits and pieces from history and illustrate them as best you can as you see them. So
yeah,
like one that comes to mind is I've been studying Chinese history for a while.
very
Uh,
cool.
so that started because I heard that the the narrative on the Opium War is a little bit distorted. You know, the general narrative is white man comes in, gets people addicted to opium, starts a trade war, turns into a hot war. What I found was that opium was actually used regularly in Chinese like ceremonial stuff for 1,000 years before that ever happened.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought, well, if I want to confirm that, I need to go back and research Chinese history from the beginning to make sure I have the proper context. So, doing that, I found a rebellion during the Han Dynasty called the Yellow Turban Rebellion. And it was Taoist influenced because Taoism actually has a very strong inclination towards anarchy depending on what's going on around them.
Really?
Yeah, in Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, which is not forcing. So they applied that to government and said, like, the best kind of government is one that does not force. It's one that works with the people.
Very
And
cool.
even before that, they have the mandate of heaven, which is often compared to the divine right to rule.
Yeah, yeah.
But in China, they have a caveat with that, where if you lose the will of the people and the approval of the people, that is a sign that you have lost the mandate of heaven.
Oh, wow.
So they use these two things to start a rebellion against the Han Dynasty, which had become very corrupt. And I don't think they were like the group to end the dynasty, but they kicked it off. So there's stuff like that, and like yellow is a very symbolic color to liberty.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I wonder, there might be a tie. I have no idea. I'm not on up to
So
my history on that.
in Chinese history, yellow represents like earth, and that's what it was for them. So it's
Mhm.
not like technically directly connected, but you can make the modern connection.
I mean, it's a bit serendipitous,
Mm.
and that's pretty awesome to me. I dig that. I don't know much about it. Here's another idea of art that I see all the time, and I don't. This could again, this could be a money laundering scheme too. I have no idea about, but I see all these, and I don't know the name of it, like Jin Yang, and it's performance theater. It's dancing, but it's always China before communism, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I can't believe they get away with that. That's awesome, but that's in itself. It's like, hey, here's a art piece. It's not about freedom. I mean, it is, but it's about dance and what it was like without an authoritarian government ruling over us. And look how beautiful this is. And I was like, that is a political piece. I mean, to me, it says it on the poster, so it's obviously a political piece. But I don't think every time I saw that poster, I never thought, "Hey, this is a story about freedom before communism," which
Hmm.
is a great political. I mean, it's great political messaging. It just I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah. There's a rich tradition of like libertarian type thought in China. It's just the last century has been a little
Rough.
rough.
What do you have anything different coming up? Any projects? Anything going on you want to tell people about?
So I'm in the middle of my first long form comic. I'm on chapter 4 or 5,
Very cool.
and I should have it out sometime later this year. I had to
Awesome.
pause it for commission work, so it's been a while. But
You
I
got
am
to pay
going.
those bills.
Yeah.
Is this something you've been sitting on for a while, or is this something that just came up?
So the thought first came to me probably somewhere around 2020 when I was reading more economics. I had the idea of a lady who travels around with the tomato plants strapped to her back, and she uses seeds as a currency.
Oh, very
And
cool.
it sort of morphed from there. It's not exactly that for logistics' sake in the story.
Okay.
That's where it came from, and it's a voluntary society possibility, both like the good and bad. And
Okay.
yeah, I will get that done in another year or so.
I dig that. I dig that. Well, where can everyone go to follow you and check out your work and all that stuff?
So meresart.com, MERESART is my website, and everything is linked there on my contact page.
Perfect.
I'm Meredith Simkins Hayes on Instagram, and then Meredith or Mayor S Hayes on Twitter. But if you go to
Perfect.
my website, it's linked there.
Okay, definitely. All right. So, one last question. Are your commissions open? Are you doing commissions?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You heard it, everybody. Go there, blow. Almost said slide into her DMs. That not that type, but yeah, you can definitely go to Meredith's website and check out her work. And she does commissions, and not a lot of people do commissions anymore. That I've noticed. I mean, some people still do, but it's not. It's not something I see all the time. I have them every once in a while, but even then, it's hard.
You have to make time for it, but you
Yeah,
can always use the extra cash in this
ex-
economy.
for real. Yeah, for real. Um, well, I hope you had a wonderful time. Thank you so much talking to me. And everyone watching and listening, if you go to libertarianswhomakeart.com, you'll find a whole bunch of lists of other artists like me and Meredith on there. You can go peruse that whole thing. Get in touch. It's a cool community. If you're an artist and you're listening to this, which you probably are an artist listening to this, and you're not signed up for that, and you don't even have to be. I know what you're thinking, and you're like, I'm not a libertarian though, bro. None of us are. There are no real ones. If you love freedom and you love liberty and you want to be a part of a community, it's a great place to go. Meredith likes it. I like it. We're there. And
Shout out for putting the group together.
oh yeah, Jared, putting this together is awesome. And it's a great resource too. Especially if you're not an artist, you're looking for artists. You can
Mhm.
also go there. Ton of great talent, ton of great people doing cool stuff. Well, Meredith, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and I'll see you out on the internets doing art.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.